The price, 1 million, is also okay. The best investors give you 1 million.
When you're going to the market, you say, there's no one in the market, there's a huge space. We're like, there's no market.
And that's what we solve. We try to enable everybody. And I think that's also the way we should go with the business.
How can I say in a short way? They don't want to pay money.
They are aware, okay, if something like this happens again, we have to be prepared. A curated and up-to-date knowledge base is key so that the productivity is still up.
To get 1 million, to get there in the finals of Slush, how do you see the future for Clypp and for you? Max, co-founder from Clypp, thanks for being here today. It's a pleasure. How are you? How do you feel today?
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming. Can you explain a little bit, just we normally start with this, what's Clypp, so that people can get an idea of what you guys do?
Yeah. So what we do is, I explain it always like this. Who still likes to read through long text manuals when he or she doesn't know how to do something? I usually go to YouTube to watch something, right? A short tutorial that just gives me the most important hacks to do something. And what we saw as a big opportunity is that in businesses, it's not like that. There's still a lot of handbooks, a lot of text articles. People don't like to write them or read them. And we were like, hey, why do you not have an internal YouTube? Because we saw it's super hard to create video content. And that's what we solve. We try to enable everybody to create short, precise how-to guides, visual how-to guides, like video tutorials, to explain something to the colleagues, be it in the onboarding process, being in the customer support, or IT rollouts, right? So that's actually what we do. And not only that, like we don't only help with the creation, but also with distribution. So we really integrate into your tools. You can see the tutorials right where you at in the software, for example. So I think that's how we like to communicate as humans with video and visuals, and I think that's also the way we should go with the business.
That's good, because that relates to us, because when we started this, we thought, should it be on video or shouldn't be only on audio? So we thought video is necessary, because you see also the people facial expressions and the way they communicate with the body. I think it's, yeah. So okay, then you find that there's a need, let's say in the business, to do video content to learn about something that before they had to read and now they don't. The thing is, what if, I don't know, they don't like to do videos, they don't like to appear on the camera? Have you had this problem or?
Yeah, actually that's true. Two things here. Firstly, through COVID, this has changed a lot for the majority of the people, I would say, because I think 4 years, 5 years ago, nobody was used to go to video calls and show their faces, show their voices, right? And now that everybody had to go through this experience, going into video meetings every day, multiple times, the psychological barrier has reduced a lot for the majority of the people. That's for sure. But what we see is the bigger the company gets, the more people don't like to have their voices or faces on videos, which is why we also try to integrate different features. Like you don't have to show your face, you can only show your screen, of course. That's pretty basic, but also text to speech or speech to speech. You don't have to use your own voice. You can also generate a computer voice from a text or from your own words. It gets transformed into an AI voice, which just gives people a better feeling about, okay, this video is going to be seen by 1,000 people. I don't like to hear my voice. Also on the data privacy side, right? A lot of companies still have issues to evaluate, is this really data privacy compliant, even if people get out of the company. So a lot of our customers also use those AI voices to have just those two goals. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And so for you, does it also make sense to use like these kind of generative AI tools? But I guess for you, the goal is not to develop in-house, but just maybe subcontract someone that is doing it already, or do you do it in house? If you want to create this video generated AI, or is it something that you just want to use the password and you don't care about generative AI?
I think actually we were one of the first ones, if I could say that, to use generative AI. Really, like already 2 years ago, there was the first hackathon. We were straight out of university. I think our university, Technical University of Munich, had one of the first accesses to the OpenAI playground, as like one of the first universities, and we were actually one of the challenge hosts for the students, for them to play around with our product and integrating generative AI into it. And I think that's where we already learned a lot, where our users can be assisted. We don't think that when it comes to really specific company-specific processes, that generative AI can right now generate a video just from any source, right? So automatically, but we do see the potential that it assists the users in, for example, generating a script for their topic. When you don't have any experience about video, where to start, how to structure the content, it's super helpful, even if it's maybe not 100% correct, right? Then the voice stuff, but also transcription, subtitles and translations in lots of languages. I think there is a huge potential for generative AI to assist our users with the creation and distribution of the videos. Yeah,
and that's embedded already in the platform.
Already, yeah.
So you have a kind of an API that you just call OpenAI, and that's it.
We have different suppliers right now.
Okay.
For us, it really is a question of does the AI part, is it part of product market fit for us or not? If it's not, like, if it doesn't prove product market fit, or if it's not super crucial to it and just like enhances the value proposition, then we try to test first and call APIs, of course. There is OpenAI involved for sure, in the script generation, for example. And that's also very important for our customers, all hosted securely in Germany or Europe at least, because also there we work rather with Microsoft than with OpenAI directly, which is processing a lot of the stuff in the US, especially when it comes to sensitive data, right? If it's processes that are very like have to be protected from the company because it's their know-how.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And that leads me to think, when you were saying at the beginning you were like the YouTube for the internal, let's say, knowledge of the company. So do you develop everything on premise and you keep it there? Or, because I guess that especially in Germany, companies are pretty reluctant with the GDPR, etc. You just mentioned it. How do you do to store all that content? That I guess it would be a lot. How do you store it and how you protect it?
Yeah. There are two sides also to this problem. The first one is, you are right. A lot of companies say, I like to have it in-house or dedicated or on-premise. But then they also see the immense effort they have to put in to maintain the system, because it's not like just like a knowledge base or like a website that you host internally. It's a lot of video processing as well involved, and that's in a huge number. That's very expensive on the server side, and also complex to manage if you don't do it. It's not a daily business, right? And that's why they still trust us with the data, but we also make sure that it's hosted securely. We are only hosting the data in Germany.
Okay.
For that we use right now Deutsche Telekom cloud, actually, for the hosting. For the processing we use Microsoft, because it's a lot more scalable in this regard, and that's already a good mix, and customers acknowledge that, to have this kind of security in Germany hosted, GDPR conformity, but also they don't have to take care of all the technicalities that are involved with video processing and stuff. And that's that's the way we work right now, and we are already improving a lot on that side as well. So we on the data security side, we are investing a lot of money on also software to help us secure firewalls and have the state of the art technology. Secondly, we are also right now in the process of getting ISO 27001 certified, to also show, okay, we are taking this very seriously. You can actually store your knowledge with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Then, would you say that these I don't know these all of these compliances that you have to feel to work with your customers in Germany, is it the biggest entrance barrier for competitors? Because when I think about it, it would be like, okay, but who's or what's not allowing anyone else to come into the market with more money and kick you out of the market? What are the barriers that you think you have?
That's completely a good question, because we already do that every day, this kind of exercise, right? I think there's two things on this topic as well. Firstly, competing on feature level is super hard in this industry, I would say, like knowledge management tools, productivity tools, because as you say, technology is so well available to many people. You have a very good picture of what's going on in the market. When I Google whatever smart video documentation, I get like the first results already. And we can really closely monitor competitors, which is also true on the flip side. But what we see as big like modes, I would say, in this industry is quite a good customer understanding in the group you're operating. So we also don't try to serve everybody in the beginning. We, for example, don't focus on smaller companies. We don't focus on startups, which is by the way a big market for all our other competitors. We focus a lot on medium-sized and big companies, where you have very, very different requirements to a tool like this than if you are a startup. You would have a lot higher requirements on the quality of the content on the first side. You would have to have much more, I would say, features on the control and quality control. Is it still actual, the content? Is it approved by your superior before it goes public, right? Because that's all questions that most of our competitors on the startup side don't answer, because they don't have to. They focus a lot on user experience and Chrome extension and so on. And we do that too, but we have a lot of requirements that we still have to fulfill. And one of them is, of course, also the data privacy side. And that's also why we think in the European markets we have a very good, I would say, standing, and also start with this kind of setup.
Okay. And so you're going to the bigger corporations that actually they would have a bigger ticket as well.
Yes.
Just good for you.
Yeah.
But then going a little bit back when you were talking about the people in the camera, and by the way, I also saw in Telefonica at the beginning we had the meetings with 20 people, and basically you just see the screen of someone and that's it. And then as Corona hit and all the pandemic and etc., people start to use the camera little by little, and now basically everyone uses the camera in a conference. Also, I think it became a kind of a sign of respect, kind of, right? Like when someone doesn't have the camera on, it's like, what is he doing?
True.
Because just to understand a little bit when you were born and what has been your story so far, when was the company created?
The company itself was incorporated in 2020 already, so we are not that young anymore from a legal standpoint. However, we started with the product 1.5 years ago. Before that, and that's also, I think, very important to our story and the whole understanding of the customer group point, is Edwin and I, my co-founder and I, we founded the company under a different name to help medium-sized and big companies in their transformation while the first wave of COVID hit
Okay.
Germany, meaning people had to go to the home office. They had to now have a good intranet. They had to have different learning and development infrastructures than before. Only one-to-one seminars are not possible anymore. You have to implement new platforms, and you have to create the courses on that platforms and all that stuff. That's what we did as like consultants for 2 years until we said, okay, I mean, we can actually replace ourselves because we were creating the content for companies for their processes, right? Because and we are not the experts on their processes.
Yep.
So it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and money for them. And that's what we said, okay, that's with the new technologies, browser-based applications. We are used to the YouTube. We are used to working collaboratively on things. Look at Figma, for example. We can do it better, and we can enable the companies to do it better, and don't have to rely on consultants or single people who happen to be video experts because in their free time they sometimes do it, and that's the how it was born. So we really, I think, bring a deep understanding of the customer or the user that was already creating the content because we did it ourselves already. We worked together a lot with those departments, like mostly HR, learning development department, but also IT, who is implementing the software all the time or has to support people in the software use. And I think that has shaped a lot of how we see the problem space and how we think about prioritizing different features on the roadmap and implementing AI here and there. Yeah.
Okay. Then what I would need to understand to close the circle would be, who are you and who's Edwin?
Yeah.
So try to understand why you came up to the idea that, yeah, I see this trend.
Yeah.
Why did you wanted to do this? And what was I understand the situation, but why you?
Yeah. So actually Edwin and I go back 6 years already. We have met each other at it's called entrepreneurial scholarship called Manage and More. There are some startups coming out of Manage and More, which are also probably interesting to interview, like FanRide from Hendrik or Study Smarter with Till. So very, very big companies already. And we met in this kind of like circle. There are 20 students each semester selected from different backgrounds, study backgrounds. So Edwin is actually electrical engineer by training.
All of them from TUM, or it doesn't have to be like that?
It's mixed, but most of them are from TUM. But I think it has changed a lot since I was there.
Okay.
Which is already 6 years ago, and I thought like that the scope of the program was, okay, so you are 20 people from different backgrounds, like 5 architects, 5 software engineers, 5 electrical engineers, whatever. Yeah. So and now you have to solve problems together in the diverse setup, and our first project was with Audi, the car manufacturer, and we were actually working on a super interesting topic. Was VR in the interior, and that's where we got to know each other, and that's where we saw, okay, we work pretty well together, and we also understand each other on the personal level. So we decided to, next to our studies, continue working on small projects, and those projects were mostly in the learning space because we saw it was very approachable space to us. It was still very old-fashioned, like seminars. People go away for 3 days to come back, have so much work on their table, and cannot apply what they learned for the past 3 days, more or less. I think that was the rule rather than the exception before COVID, and we saw super big potential also because it affected us every time we were doing internships or working student positions or something. We had the same process all over, and we wanted to change that, and that's why we got to this whole training and productivity topic, because we said, okay, there's so much technology out there that helps us work better together. Now Copilot, for example, from Microsoft, which is also using generative AI, which is coming now, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was still a lot of paper manuals. People
Yeah.
had to go to people to ask them stuff, and that's what we wanted to change from the beginning. And it was very approachable to us. I think that's because as a student, you don't have deep technical or domain knowledge for,
Yeah.
but really immersing into a space, for example, through consulting companies, helped us a lot to understand the pains and understand also what makes a company buy stuff from you, because that's the most important and
Yeah.
difficult part, to not only have an idea and everybody likes it, but also, okay, now we
Show
pay
me
you
the
money.
money.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And like I guess you saw this rise in the use of common knowledge databases and video conference, etc., in 2020, even 2021. Now we're beginning 2024. Have you seen that these increase went down again? Yeah, and or do you think it's here to stay? Because I like that people like to meet in those 3 days event. They like to use it also as
Yeah.
team building, etc. But maybe the focus should shift and it's like, okay, this is only about building relationships. It's not about learning, because if you want to learn, you can do it in your office with this database or this knowledge, shared knowledge.
Yeah.
But question is, have you seen this decrease from 2020, 2021 or?
Not really. Actually, rather increase, because now they are aware, okay, if something like this happens again, we have to be prepared. And we have a big, and then that's also what maybe also was affected by Corona. We have a big problem retaining people and making them feel good, and also giving them the flexibility to work, because that has changed definitely. And people, they demand to say, okay, I have at least 2 days of home office possibility per week or per month, whatever. But for that cases, very, and that's one of the biggest key points, a curated and up-to-date knowledge base is key, so that the productivity is still up and can be there, even if you don't have access to your colleague who would be sitting right next to you. That has changed definitely, because the picture of work is not in the office anymore completely. And for that, you have to build the infrastructure, and even because right now, especially in Germany, companies have a struggle to also attract young, or in general new employees. They have to give them those possibilities, so that they even decide for them. And then having the infrastructure is just a given, I would say, not even nice to have.
Yeah. And now, when you were speaking about this, I was thinking that then there would be a consultancy part on what you do, because you need to understand the processes of the companies to be able not to sell it at the first time, but to be able to maintain that database updated. Is there a huge part of consultancy? What's the split, if you have to say, between consultancy and kind of SaaS service product?
It differs a lot from the use case. Usually, in the beginning, it was more consultancy, right? Because we had to figure out with the company who said, okay, that's a super good idea, but we need to get people that has the knowledge to produce the videos. Which departments should we invite and involve in this project? How would they structure it? That was very consulting intensive, I would say, in the first months. Now we have, I would say, adjusted our sales approach also because of that. And we try to target companies, not, okay, we have this good idea, let's try it out, but hey, you now have the problem that you have to transition to your new ERP system, because almost everybody has that right now, because SAP is in a big transition. And now we have a very specific use case, and we know who people we need to involve into this project. But we also know that the viewers in the company, there are a lot of the viewers because almost everybody's using, for example, this ERP system. So we try to really go on specific use cases or two specific use cases. And there we don't need a lot of consultancy. We just say, okay, that's how it works. Now it's up to you. You can always, of course, call us. We do like regular meetings, update meetings, to understand, maybe the features have to be adjusted a little. How can we help them to produce it even better? Because if it works from the beginning, it's much more prone to be successful in the long term. And our customers stay. And that's also one of the key points that we try to sell. It's so easy that everybody can do it even without being trained in Clypp. We have a library of short clips about Clypp, right?
Makes sense. Otherwise, if you give a book when
Yes.
you
But in the end, most of the time, it should be that intuitive that I don't even need such a tutorial.
Okay.
And it's structured like super guided. You can just click through the process and you will get guided through the whole recording, editing, and sharing part. And so, yeah, consultancy, we say we are not the experts in your processes. You are. We can only assist you, document them.
Yep.
And that's actually the part what we do.
And this relates with traction with clients, and you're speaking about how you started, and I guess that this consultancy a bit more intense at the beginning was also to get some cash flow.
Of course.
And what's the status now related to traction? How many clients? I mean, if you can share the information or as much as you can share, how many clients do you have now?
Yeah.
And how's the customer acquisition going?
Yeah, it's going very well.
Glad.
Actually, unexpectedly well this year. We have now 20 clients that are using Clypp in a significant number, meaning it's not only like one team, but more teams or even the whole company who's using it.
What's your stakeholder normally that you get in that it works the best?
It's usually the CHRO, or the CIO/head of IT, or both together, because, as I said, they are like companies. They introduce so much new software products internally that people have to keep up with every day, and that's they see that problem, and they always think about, okay, how do I enable people to use all the software that we give them to work better? How do they really know how to use it? And that's where we come in. So the good thing is, I would say, usually if you're a startup, you get the answer, oh, we have so many projects going on, so many implementations. Can you try it in half a year? Because then we have a little more time. But our argument is then really, okay, how do you really implement this new project that you're right now doing?
What's the margin that you get in those? Because I guess at the beginning you can get in with a lower price to actually show them, hey, we're fixing your problems.
Yeah.
Then after 6 months, or I don't know what's your subscription mode is,
Yeah.
You charge them more, you have a setup fee.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to share any of these details?
So what I can say is, I think we're growing year over year pretty well, meaning more than 3x or 200%.
For the last 2 years or 3 years, or?
No, year over year. So, I mean, we are in the market since 1.5 years.
Okay.
And from
Since then,
December to December 22 to 23, we had an increase of 200%, more than 200% in ARR, or recurring revenue, without the setup fees. So I think that shows that it works, and but we are still not where we want to be. That's for sure.
What are you expecting then from 2024? It's on camera.
Yeah. What are we expecting? I think we are, let's say, not expecting, but like really calculating it can go on like this for sure, because our pipeline, I see it. I already have the first customers lined up for Q1 already, which is always, I think, or at least last year, it was a hard quarter, also because of the recession, and it will be again next year because beginning of the year and so on. But it looks pretty good, and so our goal, let's say like this, is to keep that growth. So
Okay.
yeah,
To
and
remain the 2x, let's say.
remain the 3x or 200%. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. We'll see. I'll call you then.
Yeah. Next year we're sitting here or not.
That's good.
And today's episode is sponsored by Wayra. Wayra is the corporate venture capital unit of Telefónica Group. We have presence in Brazil, the rest of Latin America, UK, Spain, and Germany, where we are right now in the Munich offices where we record this episode and this show. As Wayra, we scout, invest, and foster business between our startups and the Telefónica business units, among other things. We provide an access to a network of more than 300 million homes and a powerful B2B network all around the globe. So now I will keep you going with the episode, keep you posted, and stay in touch.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the business model itself?
Yes.
Because now we have an idea of the growth, but how do you do the invoices in terms of, I guess, set a fee plus subscription model? How do you do it?
That's exactly what we do. Set up, meaning onboardings, platform customization. It's a completely white label solution. We can also do integrations into your systems if we don't have them already in our stack. For example, Microsoft SSO, Google SSO, integrations into Atlassian products or Microsoft Teams. That's all what we have. But we can already, through our APIs, of course, also plug into your existing systems, even if you don't have them on the stack. What we then do is the subscription part. I think that's the most relevant one for most of the clients. How much do we pay for the next years to go, right? And there we experimented a lot, I would say, in the beginning, because
makes sense.
We were thinking about, okay, for the first users, it made sense to distinguish between creators of the content and the viewers of the content. For us, of course, it's best if there are a lot of creators, because then there's a lot of content on the platform and the platform is used. I think that's like network effects, more or less, that you want to induce. But if you have a limited number of creators and maybe not everybody can do it right now, we saw that our first approach being this kind of like separating between creators and viewers, we restrict our network effects artificially. And we then took the price of we saw our company has on average, I don't know, 500 employees. And we always saw that more or less 10 to 15% were creators. In the end, our customers were ordering 10% or 15% of creator licenses of their total number of employees. Okay. And that's what we took as a reference and said, okay, we will now try to combine all that, saying, okay, you now maybe pay a premium of 5%, but then you have unlimited creators. Okay. And that's what a lot of companies then did, and works pretty well, because now you don't have to struggle anymore as a company and as a purchasing department to say, okay, now person X needs a new license. I don't have to negotiate again with us. How much more do we need? And then maybe in 2 months we have to go to purchasing again. We just say, okay, it's unlimited. Maybe you pay a little more than what you would with the distinguishing between the two license types, but you don't have to care about anything anymore. And that works pretty well. But in big companies, very big companies who still have, like, for example, a very specific use case, for example, the SAP rollout, where you only have like 10 people creating and not like 500 viewing, but 5,000 viewing,
Mm-hmm.
we can still apply this model and then switch at some point to this other pricing, because buying for the whole company now would be probably too much if you move
Yep.
beyond I think 1,000 employees more or less, which is already a big company, I would say. Then we have this flexibility still.
How long is the cycle, the like, let's say the acquiring cycle
Yeah.
for you with such a huge corporates?
Yeah.
How long have you measured it?
Yeah. So we actually, to avoid huge cycles, we started off with like medium-sized businesses. So we started off with businesses of 200 people
Okay.
to 1,000 people, because there we saw our acquisition cycles would be 3 months, more or less, 2 or
Okay.
3 months. So that's good.
Since the first call,
Yeah.
cold call.
Yeah, cold call or introduction by mutual client or whatever.
Normally works better, I guess.
Yeah, that's, I think, a lot of what we do right now, because also we're not a huge team. We don't,
Mm-hmm.
cold calling. We not doing huge cold calling campaigns so far. But we do it. But it's not. It's only if we have a, I would say, proven anchor that we say, okay, that it's really makes sense to call this person because I saw it on LinkedIn that they are rolling out something like this, or they are searching for 5 people doing SAP documentations, and they clearly don't find the people to do it and don't have a concept for that. That's the sales cycle, 3 months, I would say. In good cases, 2. I already closed a customer in 1 month, which was maybe
Nice.
a little coincidence, but still. Also because we can plug and play, can work from the next day if you want to. And if you look at big customers, we see that it can take a year since we had the first call, and that's why we are hedging a little with our acquisition. We want to move there, but we know with a small team like this, we can't sustain.
Yeah. How big is the team right now?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We are right now 3 full-time employees, plus 4 freelancers / part-time employees working on it, and it works still pretty well on it. But also probably because we work pretty well together as a team. I think that's one of the big things, and we are lucky to be in such a nice office environment where we can interact very quickly and make decisions quickly.
And is it worth to have these 12 months versus these 2 months life cycles? Is it worth then with the average ticket? And I guess you didn't know yet the long time value of the customers, but is it worth for you?
I mean, there are different theories where how you can get to the size that you want to be, right? And I think there's a good article about like rabbits, elephants, the customer
I've heard
types.
about it. Yeah.
And definitely for us and our positioning, it makes maybe not sense to go smaller, because there the requirements and the customer preference are different. They might like more. They might not have the let's say they don't want to pay money for such a service, maybe, right? Because they say, okay, I can do it in low quality and I don't care. And
how can I say in a short way? They don't want to pay money.
They want to pay. Yeah.
They don't want to pay.
Yeah, they want to pay because they have maybe free alternatives, right? They can even record Google Meets, right? And then So, but if you have such like a certain threshold, you see that customer paying for it, and for us, it's clear that if we want to grow big, we need to move our ACVs up. And that can be two things, right? We can expand to like more product range and upsell within the customers, which is still one of our ideas and plans to do so. Because if you have a knowledge base, you can also make, you can give access from the articles to your customers as well externally. For example, that could be a different product. We're already experimenting with that. You could also have something like a marketplace where you can buy off-the-shelf tutorials and you don't have to search for different providers to do it. So that's definitely one option. But the other one is just to grow bigger in on your seats, right? And for us, making this experience, how long can it take to close such a customer, and how much do we have to invest, and what are the hurdles to do so? I think we have to learn it at some point, because otherwise we will never get there if we don't understand those customers where we want to be at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood. Then I want to change topic a little bit.
Yeah.
And we actually met at the airport in Helsinki as well, where you were invited to pitch because you were in the top 20 startups selected for Slush, which is one of the main event related to European tech startups. Can you explain a little bit how the process was? Because I guess that maybe some startups that are listening, they would like to be in your position. So can you explain how it was, what you did, what was the magic?
Yeah. So, Slush, for everybody who has not been there yet, it's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best startup event in Europe, at least. And I've been to some, but not all. But still, I can say everybody says that. It's such a unique way of engaging, especially startups and investors together. Not a lot of corporates, of course, they're sponsors and they need them, but it's mostly about the startups. And I think that's one of the core, and that's one of the core pillars of this event is the Slush 100 competition, because it's also the last and the ending point, the finals, right? So you as a startup, super nice to be there because you get a lot of exposure. And you can even win 1 million in equity investments from one of the best VCs in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And how was the process? As a startup, you can just register at their Slush platform. You don't even have to have a ticket for that. You can register on a platform. You give your basic information about revenue traction, what you do, what are your customers, and so on. And you can upload a pitch deck. And then the Slush...
No video, just your pitch deck.
No video.
Okay.
Then there's a Slush team, which is made up from only students, which is super impressive. The whole team is student led. And
That is the volunteers that are also then in the event.
Yes.
Those are the ones selecting the first.
I don't know about the volunteers. No, there's a dedicated startup Slush 100 team in the whole Slush organizing team. That's
That makes sense. That makes sense. Because there were more than 1,000 subscriptions, right? 1,000, I don't know.
Yeah, there are 1,100 applicants on that.
Not bad.
Yeah, on that competition. I mean, the prize 1 million is also okay. That's nice. And that's not even I give you 1 million, but the best investors give you 1 million.
And there is Axel, Northzone.
Axel, Northzone. It's New Enterprise Associates, NEA.
Mm-hmm.
It's General Catalyst, and it's Lightspeed.
Nice.
And the first selection was made by the Slush 100 team.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they got some kind of sense what they are looking for, because they do that, I think, the 10th time in a row already. And the next phase was then, if you got into the top 100 from 1,100 applications, you want to go to the top 50. And
okay, so it's even another step.
It's another step, but then not the Slush team is evaluating your pitch deck, but the investors of the prize, like the sponsors.
They evaluate these 100 startups that were selected.
They evaluate 100 startups. Yes.
Okay.
Which is a lot. And I don't know if the partners are doing it or their associates. Probably associates. Yeah. Because it takes probably a lot of time to go to all these pitch decks and writing feedback. Because that was nice, because you got not only you're in the top 50 or not, but you have 5 categories: problem, solution, founder market fit, timing, and I don't know what the 5th one was, but traction, I think. And you get those points out of 5, which was the
Mhm.
maximum for each category, and you got like an explanation of okay, why was it good or what could you
That's
improve?
great.
And it's not every day that you get this feedback. Even if you talk to VCs, right, they say, okay, blah, 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 not our investment focus or you're too earlier, but you don't really know, okay, what was really the
But
issue.
they don't like it.
What they don't like. And I think that's what they wrote there. And then if you got this, number of points, the minimum number of points, you got into top 50. And from top 50, now you have to do your pitch video, which you record in best case with Clypp.
That was what I was going to tell you. But
And I did. Yeah, you have like a 3 minutes of time to do your pitch, 10 slides, best case. You had a workshop.
3 minutes, 10 slides.
Yes.
Okay.
You had, I think they even did a workshop with Harry Stabbings from 20VC, like one of your competitors in the podcast area.
We're a show. We don't care.
And and then we got to know, okay, that's what they were looking for, the investors. Again, now at the pitch stage from the video, again, the investors rated you, but it's always that 2 investors rate you, that they're like independently. It's not like 1,
Okay.
but 2 do it, and it's randomly assigned. So every startup has 2 evaluations, and then it's counted together, and you have the next number of total points.
Meaning that in the first 100, you have like couple evaluators, and then in the top 50, you have a couple evaluators that are different than in the previous
could
one.
be.
Okay.
And they evaluated the video pitch. So from the 50 best startups, 20 were still there.
Again, evaluated by the
Again,
VCs
by the
and
VCs.
the 100 committee, I guess.
No, only VCs.
No, only VCs. Okay.
Yes. And then the top 20, they were invited to Helsinki to pitch on stage.
Nice.
And for those who don't know Slush is like super big. And there's 3 main stages, I think. It's the founder stage, the big one. Then there's the builder stage.
The founder stage, the builder stage.
There's the screen stage. So
maybe there's 4. The horizon stage or something.
Okay, yeah, maybe it could be 4 or 5. Okay. And there's a startup studio.
Yeah.
And it's like a super big and nice stage. And that's where the top 20 were hosted on the first day of Slush. And we were pitching in front of those investors and really also partners of the VCs there. And that was a very cool experience. And even when I pitched, I was super nervous because it's super, it's dark, it's big, it's loud, everybody's looking at you. But it worked out pretty well. The setup, the technology was working super well, and I even got on stage already requests for meetings afterwards, or LinkedIn requests and messages saying, "Hey, I liked your pitch super much. I just forwarded it to my colleagues," or I even got emails from like big funds.
That's
Hey,
nice.
my colleagues saw you at Slush pitching. Let's have a talk. And even if we didn't win, right, we didn't make it, but other German startup made it to just announce, to say that. It was super worthy for us, just because you get a lot of exposure, and you're on the notebooks of a lot of investors, be it angels or VCs. Yeah.
Because that's the top 20, and then they select 3.
Yeah.
They pitch the next day.
Then
right?
they select the top 3
Okay.
from those 20, and that's the big grande finale, I would say, in the end. So the last program point at Slush is the finals, and they are pitching then on the main stage, and that's the big highlight. And there one is going to win 1 million. So the air is super thin up there. I would say, because I mean, I know what we got as points, right, and how we scored in the categories from our video pitch, and I think we even improved in the semifinals, because we all got feedback and worked on it quite a while, and still we didn't make it to the finals. So it's
let's say you got the 4th place.
maybe we got the 4th place. No, but it was a super good experience. Everybody who's got into top 3 super much deserved it, for sure. But then, even if you're second place,
Yeah, of course.
right, you don't
Like,
get the 1 million. Maybe you get maybe a few more contacts than me, maybe. Yeah, that's 1 million investment is the key goal.
Was there a cap of the valuation, and how did it work, that million?
Yeah, so actually we had to sign the contract already.
Okay.
That if we're going to win, the VCs are investing at that valuation, or at least at this cap. But I don't know if I can say it actually, because
No one's listening. It's fine. I think you can.
oh, okay. Let's say there was some kind of cap. Okay, I think
Okay.
it was not super.
It was
low.
one single number, one single digit number, or two digits.
Maybe. No, it was not. It was not. It was founder friendly, I would say. Okay, I think
Okay, fair.
that's fine.
For everyone's the same, right?
Yes.
For everyone's the
Yeah.
same.
No differences.
It has to be equity, or can
No,
you do the convertible?
You can do convertible.
Okay.
So that's also one thing that they say. Okay, it's founder friendly. If you're not like right now raising equity rounds, you can even do it as a convertible. I don't know if they can do this as safe, but maybe. And we had to go to legal due diligence as well already, because I think the last year they did not really do legal due diligence, and they missed something from the winner, and so they couldn't give the prize to the winner in the end.
Ooh.
And this year I think they made sure that they are having a top law firm. We had to send them a lot of things. I have not shown anybody except from my co-founder, and so they had a very professional process in order to now we are sure that this startup also gets the 1 million if they win the competition.
That's good. Yeah. That's nice. And this relates, or at least to me, when you're thinking about to get 1 million, to get there in the finals of Slush, blah, 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 blah. How do you see the future for Clypp and for you? How do you envision? You can even talk about the next year, but if you have to push it forward, how would you see the future in 3 years, 5 years? It's a super disgusting question, but I think it's nice to have.
Yeah, of course. So our goal is to be the #1 visual or video first knowledge base, at least in Europe. We have, of course, global aspirations. We think that it's not limited to Europe. I think we already have some customers in Asia, or at least subsidiaries of customers. And we see a huge potential. Best case, we still work on this very same problem because it will always exist. We have a super automated, AI-enabled product, even maybe with our own parts of AI where we right now are testing, figuring out, okay, that's maybe something that we would have to develop in-house. We have capable people, that's for sure, and to do so. And yeah, I see a very bright future, I would say, from the point I'm standing now. Ask me in 3 months, maybe I tell you something different.
That's the near future, I can do that.
Yeah. But what I can say, it's super fun. I think the problem is very imminent. I think it always only is growing, this, especially when it's coming to, and that's always what we're saying, generational change happening right now in a lot of companies at their size. People from the baby boomer generation going out, taking their knowledge, worst case, with them. Now companies have to act. And I think that's a huge opportunity. We have to take them for sure. But I think as a team, we are capable of doing so. And that's why in 3 years of time, I see us with a few more employees than now, and hopefully lots more revenues than now as well.
Would you dare to do a explicit forecast of 3 years or 5 years, something that you wish? It's fine. We're not going to throw the video back at you, or maybe we do. But do you want to do a forecast for actually like something specific that you want in 3 years or 5 years? Like I want to do an IPO in the DAX in 5 years, or.
Oh, I think 3 years is hard.
It's extremely hard.
in 3 years.
Let's go to 5 then.
Let's do it with 1, okay?
Well, okay.
Okay, because that's very for a startup. It's super. If I want to be concrete, right? Because
Yeah.
for 5 years, probably super hard.
No one knows what's going to happen in 3
Yeah.
months, as you said. So
Yeah, and also, but actually, our goal is that we have 100 customers.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now we have
times 5.
We have times 5. Right now we have 20. In a like 1.5 years, we want to have 100. Yeah.
Are you going to need capital for that?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think from the standpoint now, yes. I think otherwise we will still grow, but maybe not with this velocity. Right now we have a very good growth with like 3x or more than 3x year over year. And if we want to keep that up in this range already, we need to invest. We can already invest now. We have investors right now. We had, but we also profited already. So now we have to go to the next stage. And I think investment would help with the right investors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so let's say that now you could maintain yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's always funny to me to say, like, I mean, to put myself in your shoes and say how difficult it is now to decide, yeah, I'm going to give some equity away. I know I can pay my salary, I can pay the people that is working salaries, but still, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to add someone that maybe I don't know yet in the company, and just to be able to grow faster.
Yeah.
I think it's because normally if you don't have revenues and you need, and your cash flow is killing you and you need money to pay the bills, there's nothing else that you can do. But in your case, it's super interesting. Yeah.
It's interesting. However, we have to keep in mind one thing that has also changed a lot in the last 10 or 20 years. It's that competition is global. And even though we have our competitive modes, I would say small ones still, and we have better data privacy, better understanding of the customer, there will always be somebody who has more cash, be it because they're bigger already or they have just found an investor who gave them 550 million to invest. And so I think it's doable because you see those cases, I think, to keep up, but it's super hard. I think the most prominent case, I would say, in Germany, which I can think of, is like Koyo, which is now called Hailo. It's like a social internet for big customers. They are in competition with like super high funded startups like Staffbase, for example, but they're profitable. I think they don't have a lot of investors, or that they didn't have until like 1 year. I don't know about it now, but they grew until millions in ARR just bootstrapped, even though they had those big competitions.
Yeah.
And so it's doable, but it's hard. And I think you have to figure out what can bring you there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really that's a very hard decision you have to make. Am I strong enough, or am I convinced that I can compete with someone who has 100 times more capital than I have? But as a startup, somehow you have to figure it out, especially in the early stages, because there will always be somebody who's in your space. Otherwise, maybe the space is not that attractive.
Interesting. I remember an old mentor I had that he always said, when you're going to the market, you say, there's no one in the market, there's a huge space. We're like, there's no market. Probably there is no market there. Okay, I just want to wrap it up, everything, just with, now we're talking about VCs. Do you have one question and one request for VCs, like in general? If you could, let's say, I have this request and I have this question that I normally don't do because I don't dare to do, or I don't dare to ask.
That's a good question. Yeah, actually, I'm always interested in, is this VC operating on a thesis, or are they opportunistic, I would say?
Mm.
Because I think that's a big, it doesn't exclude, I think, each other.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting to me, and to get to know the thesis about the market, because then you are discussing on a whole other level than features,
Yeah.
but you're rather discussing about macro events, technological influences, and so on. That in the long run will be even more decisive of you becoming a big company than what are you doing now, right? At this point,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I think is super interesting, and I usually don't ask, right? Because I,
Mm.
yeah.
And a request, like it's similar, but let's say that a question would be something like, yeah, are you an opportunistic? Are you here to take away my company? That's it.
Yeah.
And the request would be, I don't know, like can you tell me why this investment is, I don't know, made sense for your LPs? I don't know if you're thinking in those terms when you talk to a VC, but I would say that the question would be more related to the operational side, and the request is more something more strategic. Like,
Okay.
do you have anything in mind that you, I don't know, that, because I guess you talked to some VCs already.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you want to request, or even a request could be reply to my emails, or yeah, or just give me a proper feedback and don't tell me no, it's not in my thesis, where I know it's in your thesis. You just don't like something. You said it before. There's something you don't like about me or about the company, but you didn't tell me. Can you tell me?
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's the biggest request I would have, right?
damn it, I shouldn't have said. Okay.
No, that's for sure, because sometimes see they will just say, okay, you're too early, but like, is knowledge too early, is revenue too early, and then they mostly say, okay, it's a combination of things, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, and I mean, you're always too early as a startup to many VCs, I would say, or not in the right
I
scope.
guess it depends on the VC, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I think, yeah, the biggest request would be proper feedback, and there are
Proper
VCs
feedback.
that do that.
Mhm.
I get meetings with very good VCs who talk to already and say, okay, maybe not this round or something, but they had like whole page of explanation of why they think it's good, but also why they think right now they are super hesitant to make an investment in that space, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's good for us also. But the thing is, next year can be different, right?
Of course.
If there's, I don't know, if everybody sees, okay, now the generational change is one of the biggest topics, and media pushes it, and then all investors will say, maybe, okay, that's something that we should invest in, because now customers are buying it as well.
Yeah.
So it can change so quickly. So I think, for me, the takeaway is, you're an expert in the field. There's a problem. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sold so much things already. And how do we make it really big, with the right help and the right investors who are also believing in the thesis we are believing? Because that's the prerequisite that there's a good relationship, I think, also.
Good. Okay, so see you in 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot for coming. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Max.
Bye.